Welcome back to the kickoff. Oh my God, how long have we got, lads? It's going to be a good day today. We got a bit of Man United chat. A lot of people online saying, sack the manager. I just want to come out and say, staunchly in defense of Ten Hag today, that will not change anything. Okay, you're too rash. You want it all too quickly. Trust the process. All right. Rome wasn't built in a day. Right. He's only just got his 600 million spent. Give him a second. How are you feeling, lads? Are you enjoyed the weekend?
I mean, I enjoyed the weekend massively. Yeah, I enjoyed the weekend. Like the way we played, we cut them open. Like we destroyed them. And when we go to Old Trafford, I'm always like, even in the past when Man United have been bad, I'm always just a bit apprehensive about Old Trafford because we don't really do well there. Like Man United, if you need a result, you want to play Spurs usually. Like,
I feel like Newcastle and Spurs are the same. Like, we've always notoriously been terrible against Man United.
Yeah.
And until Ten Hag came along, and he's just, it's like Christmas.
It was so easy to play against them. Like, they don't have an identity. They don't have a philosophy. We've been saying it for ages. And then now to compound it even more, they don't even put in the effort. Like, the players are not even like putting in that. Like, Van der Ven has just run through the team from his own half.
The second time in 2 days. Remember, it happened against 20 as well. Yeah. Like, this isn't like a one-off. And after 20, Ten Hag comes out and he questions the players' mentality and we need to put a shift in. And ironically, Eddie Howe did the exact same thing before our game, which is, you could argue a harder game against the champions. And the way Newcastle responded in a much harder game versus the way Man United, I'm like, why even have a manager at this point? There's no coaching, there's no motivation. Just let them go out and run themselves out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was terrible, man. Like I at least expected them because it's Spurs, because it's, it's a Super Sunday 4:30 game. They know everyone's watching this game and they needed to kind of respond after the last result. Like I expected them to come out and actually play football, even if we know they're not being coached well. And there was just nothing. That first half, I know everyone I've seen some Man United fans talking about the sending off. Obviously a sending off is going to affect the game. But before Bruno Fernandes got sent off, which by the way, I actually didn't think it was a sending off, they were getting battered. Like they couldn't handle Kulusevski and James Maddison in midfield. Like it
was 12 shots to 3 before the sending off, with 28 touches in the Man United box versus only 7 in the Spurs box. It was one-way traffic before the sending off, and no one was expecting them to get a win.
No, listen, I feel like if there's any Man United fans out there now genuinely backing Ten Hag, they need to see a specialist. Like you need, at this point, no, because it's like, at this
there
point,
is though. There actually is.
Because he won an FA Cup. Because he won an FA Cup. Because he won an FA Cup, they're going to stick by him. When you saw they had their lowest finish in Premier League history last year. Like the writings on the wall.
Some of the arguments I'm hearing, Craig, is like, if you think changing the manager is going to, make a difference, a lot of these players got the last manager sacked. And I see, this narrative, and you look into the team and you think, this is Ten Hag's side. 600 million spent. I think only Bruno Fernandes and Marcus Rashford in the side were not either brought through by him or signed by him. And let's be real here. The season that actually went well, where the cracks were covered over, and that was the season I was still calling them out, remember, was the season where Bruno Fernandes and Marcus Rashford carried them. All of these players that he's brought in are the ones who are actually failing them, and actually it's not getting better. It's the longer he's there, the worse it's getting. I don't understand either.
It's the maddest thing. When INEOS came in, we all said the same thing. We thought they're going to take the checkbook away. It's not going to be Ten Hag signings anymore. But correct me if I'm wrong. These are very much Ten Hag players. De Ligt, that's a Ten Hag player. Xerxes, he knows him from the Netherlands. That's a Ten Hag player. He's got everything he could want. How do you still make excuses for him?
It's also,
I don't know what the excuse is.
It's not the injuries, right? This was his first 11, pretty much. I mean, you could give or take one or two but it was a very strong 11 that he has signed and chosen and proven in his opinion. And you look at the results so far, they've lost 3 out of 6. Even the wins against Fulham, that first game, we did a review on this channel. We said they didn't look good in that game. And Southampton, everyone beats. And I'll never get tired. The last couple of years have just been so repetitive. It's like Groundhog Day at this point of Man United fans when they beat Barnsley and they beat Southampton. And my God, the stats are all over Twitter. This celebrate. We've turned a corner. And I'm like, just wait until you play anyone in the top 10. And religiously they do. And you look at the last 20 games at home, they've lost 8. Right? Just for comparison, because this is Manchester United we're talking about here, right? Newcastle have lost 5 at home in the last 51. They've lost 8 out of the last 20. That is, I never thought in my life, and when you hear, Man United fans still saying, stick by Ten Hag, I never thought I'd see the day where Newcastle's standards, and everyone in here, all of our standards as a football club, especially Newcastle, are superior to what Man United are willing to accept now. I'm flabbergasted, lads.
Shall we play devil's advocate for a second? I was just going to say, Jacob, shall we just play devil's advocate for a second? Shall we try and think of some reasons why Ten Hag shouldn't get sacked? Because I think we're all on the call right now. We're all saying we agree. We probably think he should get sacked. But is there a reason you can actually think of why he shouldn't get sacked?
I've got two. One will be the argument I said a minute ago. They're going to say silverware, right? Well, he's winning silverware. We could have been in a drought if he wasn't there. Like, he's a manager that wins trophies. So that's one argument. Cool. Fair enough. Even though I believe you need long-term sustainable success as opposed to just, okay, you're going to win a thing and then you're finishing 8th in the league. That doesn't make sense to me. But I think the other thing would be like, who are you bringing in? A lot of these Man United fans don't want to start another rebuilding process again. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what that is though? And I understood that idea earlier on. But now you're looking at a sunken cost fallacy where you're so deep in with this guy that you keep throwing more money at him and more money at him. And it's just, and I personally, as a competitor, I'm looking at Man United thinking, thank God you kept him because it's more money wasted. Fantastic. Keep going in that direction because it's going to take even longer for you to come back this way. And I feel like the more money they spend with him, the worse it's getting. And now that their standards are that, well, we've won 2 cups. It's like, do you remember when like teams like Middlesbrough would win a cup and survival and that would be it for them? Like, that's now where I'm looking at Man United. Like, oh yeah, Wigan win a cup at one point? Like, what the fuck is a cup to Manchester United? He says trophies, but like, that's not the trophies you're supposed to be competing for when you're outspending and you're outpaying wages of virtually every club in Britain. I still don't understand it.
It's the maddest thing. It's like all summer, rival fans were telling United fans, you should be getting rid of him. And we want you to keep him. We want you to keep your manager because none of us rate him. And they're all coming back at us going, no, he's going to be good. He's going to turn around. It's like when every other fan in the Premier League wants your manager to stay because you're not a threat, that should tell you something. And I think it's such an interesting comparison with Spurs, by the way, because let's be real, Craig. Like, it was only 2 weeks ago, Spurs lose to Arsenal at home, and there was talk of trouble with Spurs. And let's not pretend everything's always been perfect under Ange. It hasn't. But I was looking at those two teams yesterday. I was like, one team has got an identity, and one team, you know what that manager's doing. And the other thing about Spurs, when you make that comparison, look at Spurs' signings. Like Van de Ven, even Brennan Johnson, who couldn't look the fans in the eye 2 weeks ago. I think he's got 4 goals in 4 now.
Yeah, 4 and 4.
Every single one of those signings you can make an argument for with Spurs. It's not even that they've all been super successful. Let's be real, but there's like, you can see the thought process with every signing.
We hear this argument all over social media of changing the manager won't change anything. I literally looked at like the league and thought Spurs more recently changed the manager. You see an identity immediately. Chelsea have had this guy in 2 seconds. And my God, is he getting a tune out of them? And there's an identity of the way they play. Obviously Newcastle, Villa changed their managers at a similar point in time. Again, much more clear progress. To say that a manager can't have an impact with this team, it's like, well, why have managers in the first? Why do we even have a manager then? Because that's the level of lacking of common sense I'm listening to now. This is insane.
The question is, though, is who's the manager going to be? Like, that's the ultimate thing. Like, let's be honest. We all know in the summer they wanted to get a new manager in. They went through, an audition process, an interview process, and they couldn't find the right guy. I think they're so worried about who this guy's going to be because they know if there's another failure here, then it's Armageddon. I mean, we could be talking about Man United finishing in the bottom half of the Premier League, let alone languishing at the bottom of the top half. So I do think they are so worried about who that's going to be. And we know that Gareth Southgate will be a complete failure if he goes there. And I think you guys are particularly worried about Graham Potter, even though I think Graham Potter would be a very good manager for them. I'm sure a lot of Man United fans will be laughing and not wanting him to be anywhere near the football club. But then beyond that, I've heard Man United fans that say they want Julian Nagelsmann. Why is Nagelsmann going to leave, Germany in the setup that he's got right now to come and manage a basket case club in Man United? I just don't.
Basket case. Wow. Is that what we are?
You say a basket case club, Josh? They're still like, the thing is, and by the way, I just want to preempt this. The people are going to say, why are you always talking about Man United? Let's be really honest. Man United are one of the biggest clubs in England. It is, if not
it's
the biggest club in
England,
the
and it's the biggest failure in England as well. How could we not talk about them? Do you know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. So Julian Nagelsmann, whether it's Nagelsmann, Tuchel, there'll always be a draw for top managers to manage Manchester United because it is one of the biggest clubs in the world.
Is this not a good time to take over though, lads? Right? Let's take, for example, the Eddie Howe situation at Newcastle. He took over us in 19th place. There's almost a freedom of when a club has been run so badly that you almost can't fail. I'll give you a list of some of the results Ten Hag has overseen. Brentford defeat 4-0, 6-3 Man City, 7-0 Liverpool, City 3-0, Bournemouth 3-0, Palace 4-0, Liverpool 3-0, Spurs 3-0, Newcastle 3-0, Sevilla 3-0. Man United aren't just losing games under this bold fraud. They're getting battered. This idea that they can't find a better manager well, who would you get then? Honestly, literally just go like that, you'll get someone better. He's fucking useless. And this idea that you can't find anyone better, stick with it. Please stick with it, because the more money you give this clown, the worse it gets. And anyone who, and this is the thing, right? I know I was under this guy earlier because you could see that the maths wasn't adding up, right? The working out and the results weren't adding up. You could see that they were getting very lucky in his first season. There was a lot of mistakes he was making. They were still getting cut up and then, but they got away with it. Second season, he got found out. And that was the time they should have woke up and smelled the coffee. For anyone now still defending him, I don't understand, because clearly there's a lot of good when we heard of Chelsea appointing that manager, a lot of us skeptical. Will he work? Will he not? We haven't got a clue, right? But the point is it was worth the roll of the dice in their mind, and even then it was debatable whether or not they should have done it. But they did it. Are you telling me we've not seen enough of this guy, and that it's not worth giving, I don't know, another manager, even Ruud van Nistelrooy, to the end of the season? He needs to go. I can't understand there's another week left for this guy.
But the problem is, at the beginning of this month, INEOS came out and they backed him. They backed him unequivocally. They came out, Omar Barada, the CEO, and Dan Ashworth, they came out and said, look, we give him the vote of confidence. If they now just flip that within the space of September, it doesn't look good on them.
It looks terrible.
I feel like they're going to give him, and it's crazy to say because I've looked at their run of fixtures after this Spurs game. It's bad. Like, they got Porto, they got Brentford. I don't see where they're going to actually get wins. Like, I can't see it. But the reality is, I think they're going to give him up until at least Christmas. That's how crazy it is. Because I think INEOS are trying to work with, they're trying to be methodical in the way they're approaching things. And they've already made it clear that this is going to be a process. This is something that's going to take time. We're still trying to, get rid of the toxic roots of the previous owners, the Glaziers. Yeah. So that's what they're going to roll with. But the reality is, this is a results-based business. Like, if you keep sliding down that table, you got to tear up your plan.
There's this illusion that good leadership moves slowly. It's methodical. It's well thought out. The slower we go, the more of an analyzed, calculated decision this is. Do you know what? Sometimes you have to just go, we got it wrong. We got it wrong. Yeah. We fucked up, and we're going to right this wrong as quick as humanly possible. Because inactivity, for me, is not true leadership. And this is a real test for Dan Ashworth, because clearly in the summer, I'm not saying that they completely wasted money, but they haven't signed the players that they probably thought they have, and they haven't corrected what needs putting right, in my opinion. And the further it goes, the worse it gets. So, look, I personally think that they need to make a change ASAP, because that team, not only were they unmotivated in that game, they did not look like they had a clue how to play against this Spurs team. They went out there with no idea what they were doing, in my opinion. And that's all on the manager. And this is his team. And then at half time, you come out again. And, that's when Eddie House, and good comparison, because, we were very similarly rated with Man United last season. I think we finished level on points. We send our players out against Man City. We managed to nick a goal after the beginning of the restart. With Man United, they concede again. So that's 3 minutes after the kickoff, 3 minutes after halftime. What are you telling them? Like, it's not, every way we can analyze this is terrible.
Well, the other thing is you've got players coming out of that Man United squad, going elsewhere and looking good. This is the thing no one wants to talk about, and except Cole Palmer because he's tweeting about it. Jadon Sancho.
Oh, by the way, that wasn't Cole Palmer, by the way.
Was that not?
No,
have I been catfished?
We have. You know, these Twitter accounts, you can now just verify any account. So if you actually look in the bio, it goes like fan not affiliated, but it's got like hundreds of thousands of, it's ridiculous. But, yeah.
I've been Eland.
Same. I thought it as well. I only realized this morning it was a fake.
I think he liked something on Instagram, which was legit. That kind of alluded to the Jadon Sancho thing. But yeah.
To be fair though, Jadon Sancho looks like a new player. Like, you know, I was sat next. Yeah, go on.
Josh, he looks like the player they bought.
Yeah.
It's not that he looks like a new player. He looks like the player he was pre-Ten Hag. This isn't a Sancho that's never existed before. This isn't a Sancho that no other manager's been able to get out. This guy was one of the most exciting young wingers in Europe. He went there and it's like they stuck him in a freezer. All you've done is defrost. I'm not taking credit away from Maresca because it's great that Chelsea have got him playing again. And listen, we're all England fans. It's great that he's going to be an option for an England squad now. Let's not pretend that this guy wasn't a player. This was £100 million investment.
Yeah.
No one talks about that.
Let's also contrast.
Why people don't talk about it.
Yeah, Jake, a great point. And also, what about Mason Mount, lads, who really, his career, oh my God, it's going terribly bad. And when you look at the fact that, you know, Chelsea used that money to then go and sign Cole Palmer, fucking hell. What do we make of the Mason Mount situation? He came on, he was then subbed off after coming on.
I just don't get what's happened to Mason Mount. I honestly just can't comprehend it. Like, if you look at it now, he was winning Champions League finals at Chelsea. He was one of our better players. He was playing in, you know, a left wing position. He was playing centrally. He was playing even sometimes up as a false nine. He was everywhere. And I think the quality that he had, you were thinking, let's rewind it back. I was gutted when Mason Mount left. I was gutted because of what he meant to us as a club, you know, the academy connection. And I also thought he was going to really significantly improve Man United. But it's just gone completely the other way.
And look, he's not the only one. Marcus Rashford just gets worse and worse. Bruno Fernandes, a player who historically has always delivered for them, is actually getting worse as time goes on. Even his game is suffering, in my opinion. So
we have to be fair. Like Rashford probably had his best season for Man United in Ten Hag's second season. Like,
it's getting worse since then, is my point.
But you're right there. And I mean, I'll go a step further. Is there a player who's come to Manchester United and looked better under Ten Hag than they had done previously? Or has the only player who's gone there started to go downhill?
Yeah, the only thing you could say is that he has brought through the young players. Well, you could, like, let's do it. I think he has improved Kobbie Mainoo and he has improved Garnacho, but are they
you're saying he's improved them, Josh? Just a counterpoint. Like, we didn't see them before he had them.
Yeah.
So there is every chance that under any manager, they put them on the pitch, that this is their level and they may even be better. When you look at the players he has brought in, like, there's incredible amounts of them who were there beforehand, who are getting worse, who have been brought in, like Casemiro, who's just getting worse and worse. And I'm not saying that this is all his fault, but there's a connection. And to say that there isn't a connection would be, you'd have to be blind.
To be fair, Johnny Evans has got better, hasn't he? Like, Johnny Evans' career was over, you know? He looks like a pretty decent player now, Johnny Evans does.
Do you know what I was going to say, though? I do feel like it's a Man United problem. It's a club problem, because when you look at, and this is, Ten Hag isn't good enough. Let me make that crystal clear. Like, he is not good enough. Like, when we look at what's going on the pitch from a footballing perspective, he's not coaching this team well. They're not set up well. They don't have an identity. When they approach games, it feels like you've just got individuals relying on what maybe they can do rather than like being woven and interknit as a team. It's not working. But since Fergie left in 2013, it has just been failure after failure after failure with this club. They are massively underachieving. They've had some of the best managers, the biggest managers. They've had Jose. They've had the Louis van Gaals. They've had the random ones in Ralph Rangnick. Like, they've had everything at this point and nothing's working. It is definitely a club problem, top to bottom. And I know I don't want to focus too much on the things off the pitch, but Ronaldo brought it up in that interview, that famous interview. Like, the club is so behind in so many facets. When it comes to business, they're amazing. Like, they can market it across the world. They can get Chevrolet to give them 700 million for 10 years. Like, they can do all of that. But then the actual infrastructure of Old Trafford, That stadium's old.
Yeah,
Carrington's
we all
old.
scoffed right earlier on when I said that Man United are a basket case club, right? Because of the investment they have, the money they could spend on wages, the commercial side of the business. But name me any other side of the business or the club itself that is going to succeed. Like, you look at that squad right now, they're going to have to lose 5-10 players to even get back up to a level which is challenging for Europa League football. They're going to have to completely gut it. Then you're looking at the management situation. That's a complete joke. The training facilities, the staff, like all of the individual staff right now, they've sacked half the backroom staff.
How much is Casemiro on a week?
350 grand.
350.
Yeah. So how are they going to offload him? That's the thing.
Crazy.
They're not going to be able to get rid of these players, let alone. So, like, yes, they've got some green shoots in that they've got some young players coming through, but they've probably got 3 or 4 decent young players coming through. Name me any other top 6 sides that hasn't got that coming through already now.
It's becoming a career graveyard. It's becoming a career graveyard for a lot of players. A lot of players are going there and their careers actually going backwards. And then they're leaving. And like you said, then when they leave, they find some sort of like, I don't know, footing in their career. But while they're there, and this is what I'm saying, but this has actually happened prior to Ten Hag as well. I just want to make that clear.
I agree with you, Craig. It's just, for me, They've had multiple opportunities to get it right. David Moyes for a club like that was never going to happen, right? Van Gaal was a bit behind the times, and Mourinho did actually get some success there, to be fair to him, and I don't think he gets the credit he deserves. And on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, what on earth were they thinking? So, like, of course, they've made a lot of bad appointments, but they've really backed this guy well and truly, and the fans wanted him, the fans have backed him, they've given him all the support in the world, and on that side, actually, credit the Man United fans, because I don't know how they keep putting up with this utter dross. But it comes a point where you have to look at your competitors and go, yeah, but there's loads of clubs who've had plenty of failure, like Spurs and Newcastle, classic underachievers in the eyes of a lot of people, or people who teams that have struggled. But under these managers, they have got a connection with the manager. We have got a tune out of the players. We are growing. We are improving. We are going to leave Man United behind, even without spending the money. Like, Newcastle spent fuck all this year, and yet we still look like we've got more of a clue than Manchester United have after they continuously outspend us. So I just think that, like, when you look at it from the bigger picture, yeah, you can say, well, Ten Hag's another one in a lot of failures. Is it really his fault? But he's been given every chance to transform this team and turn them around, and he's fucked it. So, I just
don't see him as the long-term guy, though, do they? The fact they were holding interviews at the end of last season lets you know what they really think about him.
That was a failure. And look, that's where you can look at the top and go, if you're holding interviews for another guy, you've already lost confidence in the guy that you have, and therefore you should have sacked him then. They bottled it. They absolutely
it was the FA Cup win. They got gassed. They beat this Manchester City, the best team in the world, their rivals in a cup final. It gassed them. They thought, oh yeah, that's it, man. This guy, look what he's capable of. Let's just give him another chance. And it's just failed horribly.
The fact that Ten Hag was allowed to gaslight people by saying, well, I've won trophies, what more do you want? The cheeky bastard. Yeah, how anyone is stupid enough to fall for that. And like, he had a go at Shearer. I watched a bit of Shearer this morning, and he was like, well, what are they? What are they? Because they're actually identityless. Do they press? Do they defend? Can they attack? They can't do anything. So I think we've gone on long enough, but I mean, I personally would get rid of him immediately. Yeah. Would any of you keep him, and if so, why?
No.
As in today, you can get rid of him in 2 days.
I'd sack him right now, mate. I just think, because we've got the whole season ahead of us, pretty much. There's only 6 games gone, and yet Man United fans, the hope that they all had at the start of the season, I heard some saying they'd finish second, top 4, that's already out the window. I genuinely think, with the way other teams have started, Man City, obviously, Chelsea, Liverpool and Arsenal, they look a bit of a lock for top 4 already. Yeah. And look, if anyone was to slip out, maybe Chelsea would have to fall apart out of nowhere. But Man United don't look like they're getting near that. They don't even look like they could compete with Villa, who might not even be. So you've already fucked the season off. Why continue down this path? What is the reward? Another cup?
I'd give him, it sounds crazy to say, but I'd give him the Villa game. So even I'd give him the Porto and the Villa game. I would give it to him just to see it, because in the Premier League, if they lose, and they probably will lose, because Villa at home, at Villa Park, Villa are really difficult to beat. So they probably will lose, but I'll give them that game just to see, is this it?
I like it.
This is it.
I like it.
I wouldn't give the new manager Aston Villa away, because then you're just setting the new manager up for
If they lose that game though, Craig, they're 9 points off Villa.
So you give the new manager the first game, go Porto away and go Villa away.
Yeah, but you might as well try and win the game. You're just saying they're going to lose anyway. You might as well.
It feels like he's lost the dressing room just by the way they played in that Spurs game. It feels like it's gone.
Yeah, you've got to stop the rot, man. You've got to stop the rot. Like that, the squad is a joke. Like the squad's a mess. We've mentioned some of the contracts. It's insane. How no one took the checkbook away from him in June, I have no idea. What Man United have got to start thinking about soon. We mentioned it. The one thing they're good at, the one thing Manchester United are good at is commercial deals, global branding, being this super club around the world. That doesn't last forever when you're getting embarrassed on Super Sunday every single week, when every pundit is slating you, when Shearer doesn't know what you are, when Gary Neville's saying this is the worst performance we've seen in years. Like, you have to stop it. Like, when you're the size of Man United, when you're that big, the headline can't be "we're shit" every single week, and it has been.
But 6 games, Jacob.
FA Cup, bro. We forget about the FA Cup.
You pulled the trigger after 6 games.
It's last season as well, though, isn't it?
Craig, if I could jump in a time machine, I'd go back and pull the trigger 6 years. It's ridiculous. 6 months ago. The thing we forget about the FA Cup, they beat City in the final while City were hungover after winning the league. They were this close to going out to Coventry. They were this close to being embarrassed.
There was some bad results against Crystal Palace away there. There's been, and part of the issue is when they lose, it's the way they lose. They lose in the most spineless, pathetic, embarrassing ways. Like, losing is a part of the game, right? We're all used to it, but you want to see your team go down with a fight, really put up a fight, and they don't. When they lose, they roll over.
Worse than that, I don't think they win well. I don't remember a convincing win. They don't.
That's so badly.
They don't win well.
That is so true, Rob.
They lose XG battles. They get last minute winners. Can you remember them convincingly beating a decent team with a game plan and a way of playing? No one can.
Yeah. I mean, that FA Cup win was the only game in a long time where I thought, fair enough, right? That went well. City also hung over. That helped a bit. But, and look, credit to them for winning the cup, but no one really gives a shit because that's not the expectation of Manchester United, right? If that was Newcastle, I'd still be fucking pissed now from it, right? But that's us, right? This is them. And for Ten Hag to consistently act like, those cups are enough to prove he is a success, that alone, it shows he's not in the real world.
We're talking about, I would say, 5 to 8 years of pain still for Man United, because they're going to have to completely gut the squads. They're going to have to get rid of Ten Hag. They're going to have to employ some young, youthful sort of like thinking at the top of the level of the club. They're going to have to get new players in. Like, this is.
I think it's not as bad as you think, though, John.
I completely disagree.
As much as I agree, I understand the point. Like, there's a lot of work to be done, but we've seen, for example, Spurs losing Harry Kane, right? When Spurs lost Harry Kane, Newcastle beat them 6-1 that season. And I'm looking at them thinking, they are fucked. And Big Ange came in and he's put some good signings in. He's given them a bit of enthusiasm. Like a manager, I'm not saying the overall job can be completed within a year or two, Josh, because I agree it's going to take longer. But a manager can make a massive difference if the right personality clicks with the club. And that's just not happening under Ten Hag, is it?
Can we quickly just have a word on Bruno, though? Just that, did you not think that was a sending off?
I didn't think it was a sending off, but what I did think was, I thought, you are an incredibly stupid lad, right? You know the modern game, right? It's for funnies. People get sent off for anything. When he started slipping, mentally, he should have thought, I'm not going to make this. I'm not going to make this challenge. And and I'm risking everything by just throwing a boot out and hoping for the best. It was roughly knee height. Yeah, the studs didn't connect. Yes, it wasn't going to hurt him, but it was the visual of it for a referee in the modern era is going to go dangerous play. And you gave him the opportunity when it wasn't in a dangerous situation. It wasn't through on goal. Like, and the guy, as much as I rate him as a footballer, and he's got ability, he's got fantastic ability, he is no leader. And he is a great example of Manchester United in lacking leadership out there, man.
He's not a leader. He's petulant at times. Do you know what I mean? When things don't go his way, he throws his toys at his pram.
That's the opposite of what you need, isn't it? You need someone to roll the sleeves up to the lads and say, we're still in this. Let's fucking turn shit around. He's not... The fact that he's your captain is really an indictment on the whole situation.
I just find it hilarious that he came out. I even tweeted it, that he came out after the game and did a post-match. Maybe you lot could correct me. I don't think I've ever seen someone get sent off and do a post-match interview. Usually they just hide and you never see them again. Like they walk off, we don't see them again. This guy was adamant that he had to do a post-match interview because he thought it was such an injustice. And it was like, yeah, but, and then they made that the topic of the post-match interview, not the fact that you lot just stunk out Old Trafford.
I think he did his manager a favour there. He made himself the story in the moment.
He sent him out there. I think Ten Hag sent him out there.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, he did him a favour because
deflection.
And Ten Hag's a master deflector. Like that's one thing I have appreciated about him is he's a fucking politician. This prick.
He has zero aura though. Zero aura. No charisma. His aura's minus.
And United fans, by the way, they're saying that he should be dropped. Bruno Fernandes. I never thought I'd see the day where I heard a Man United fan say that. By the way,
for who? For who? Mount.
They're saying Eriksen.
Fuck me.
This is where you know. Can I just say something as well about Gary Neville? Why was Gary Neville? Because did you not see this? So obviously during the game, he got really emotional and really laid into Man United. Then after the game, he kind of like tried to put it all on Christian Eriksen and was like, everyone's talking about what I said, but didn't you not see what Eriksen said after the FC20 game where basically he said that no one in the dressing room's applying themselves? This is their senior players. Did you not see any of that?
I missed that.
All about Christian Eriksen. Like he tried to shift it all onto him because of the comments he made after the game midweek, and it was like, why are you doing that?
It's about people, big Manchester United people like Gary Neville and that. You know, they're the ones who it's on them to call out the fraudulence of Erik ten Hag, and I'm staggered at how long it's taking. And I don't know why. Because again, if this was Newcastle, without even spending that much money, the lack of fight, the lack of a plan, the lack of so many things just on a basic level, why are they still defending him? I don't understand it, but yeah, we'll leave it there. We'll move on to Chelsea, lads.